Hi, this is Kirk Fletcher with John Broughton on KC Radio 97.7 FM.
Just to begin, you've just finished a tour of France. How did that go?
It went fantastic. It was my first solo tour of France, and it was fantastic. All the clubs and everything was really cool, and people were really nice, and yeah, I can't say anything bad about it.
What's the blues scene like over there? Is that they're pretty strong love of blues in France?
Well, from what I could see, there's definitely a blues community. There's definitely, people that have come out and support the arts in general. And as far as I could see, it was fantastic. Just, just people coming out.
Yeah. So outside of America, where are your best markets?
In America, mostly I play, in LA or, mostly LA, mainly. I mean, I don't really play in the Midwest too much. I used to when I played with other bands and stuff. I'd play in the Midwest or the East Coast and stuff like that. But I've pretty much been in LA and occasionally go here and there, and then a lot in Europe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's take it back to the beginning for you, just for a little while. Do you remember your first guitar?
My first guitar was a black and red Sunburst Sears acoustic guitar that had one string on it, and I dragged that thing around all over the house with one string on it, and I put a hole in it to try and make it electric, and that failed. My first real serious electric guitar was a Squier Stratocaster. Yeah.
And what about your discovery of the blues? Do you remember that moment and the impact that it had on you initially?
Well, I heard about the blues first from my parents. My parents were very religious, but they would tell me about their childhood and teenage years of going out to dances and things like that. And they would listen to the music that was popular because my family's from Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Arkansas. So on the radio, they heard like the King Biscuit Blues Hour and different radio stations from, I think, Nashville and stuff like that. So they heard Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, and T-Bone Walker and all of these people on the radio and danced to the music, as well as the West Coast, too. I mean, my dad was in the Army, and when he got discharged from the Army, he went and lived with his uncle on the West Coast, and he heard somewhere, like T-Bone Walker and some of the more West Coast. Well, T-Bone Walker isn't West Coast, but he made his mark on the West Coast. Sorry, I'm going on.
Nah, that's all right.
But, yeah, so I heard about it initially from my parents, and it just always, I don't know what it was, but it always fascinated me because I've always liked old stuff.
Yeah. So you became a real student of the blues, like growing up and actively seeking out the old recordings and...
Well, actually, I always loved the blues since I first heard it when I was about 8 or 9 years old, and I dug it. But I also was a kid of the 80s, so I dug all of the stuff that was going on, and I was a guitar nut like everybody I know, my buddies Josh Smith and Joe Bonamassa and all those guys. We were all kind of like into the same kind of, 80s, whatever, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Fabulous Thunderbirds, Prince, everything,
Yeah.
So yeah.
In terms of guitar players, who were the first ones to really inspire you to take up the instrument seriously?
My brother, Walt, without a shadow of a doubt, Walter Fletcher, my older brother.
Yeah.
He was the guy that got me started and hit me to how to play it, who to listen to, how to get a tone, timing, chords, taking a solo, space, everything. That was my first guitar hero.
That's wonderful. Now, you spent some time growing up in Compton, I believe, not an area known as the blues capital of America?
Yeah, I would say. Yeah, I mean, Compton, yeah. I mean, a lot of churches in Compton, though, storefront churches and a lot of gospel music and
yeah,
things like that. But yeah, but by the time I came along, it was like the late '80s, early '90s. So it was probably at the height of gang violence and all of those things when I moved there from Lakewood, California. It was pretty bad.
Now you're obviously extremely comfortable on the guitar, but I believe it was a whole different story with getting you comfortable with the idea of singing.
Oh man, that took a long time, and I'm still working on that. That's a work in progress. 'Cause I've only been for maybe 3 or 4 years, and you do something your whole life like play guitar, and then you try to learn a whole new instrument, kind of, because that's basically what it is for me. But I'm working on it, and it's fun to see the development. Sometimes I get a little discouraged, but then I have a breakthrough. So you know, it's interesting.
So was there a certain point where you decided you made that decision that you're finally going to have to start focusing on singing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was the I couldn't be on stage doing only instrumental songs, and I didn't want to have a lead singer in the band because it's, to me, other than like Robin Trower and Eric Gales and a few other people, um, lead singers is usually the lead singer's band or the people think about the lead singer. So
Yeah.
it's like, and then you got to go through this whole committee of, I want to do this, he wants to do that, or she wants to do that, or whatever. So I said, this is probably going to be just as difficult either way, so I might as well just try and sing, and I can be my own man. And yeah, plus, doing instrumental music, I love instrumental music, but I like music. Most of the music I listen to has words and tells a story and makes me laugh, cry, or shocks me or whatever. So that's very important to what I like. And all the blues music, funk, country, whatever I like, it has vocals.
Yeah. So if you had your time over again, do you think you would have taken to singing a lot sooner?
Oh, I would have took the singing probably faster than I would guitar if I'd have known what I know now. And everybody that told me that, Doug McLeod and all of my friends, told me about, oh, you should start singing. And I thought that it was going to just be sideman guitar player to the stars or whatever. As a kid, I didn't realize that singing was very important.
Yeah. So what were the circumstances that led you to join the Fabulous Thunderbirds?
Well, I had met Ken Wilson through Al Blake, and I actually initially joined Ken Wilson's blues band, the solo band he had that done more traditional blues and R&B and stuff. I was in that band from about 2000 to 2000, I don't know, 2 or something like that.
Yeah.
So, we had our, whole communication, jamming, playing, talking, hanging, everything, even touring and stuff before I joined the T-Birds. Then I joined, after the blues band with Kim Wilson, I joined Charlie Musselwhite. Was with Charlie for a couple of years, and then I got the call that the slot in the T-Birds was open. So I went on to do that just so I could be in a band, basically, because I love playing with Charlie. I mean, that was the best times of my life. But I just wanted to be a band that I respected for most of my life.
Sure. And what do you think would have been the best thing you took out of that experience with the Thunderbirds that made you yourself a better band leader when it came time to focusing on your own career again?
Just the professional, soulful way that Kim led the band. He always was like, he just had been doing it so long and just so many gigs under his belt that it was just like second nature. And that's what I tried to take from him, the main thing, as well as him being one of my favorite singers of all time, and his harp playing is impeccable. I learned a lot from Kim, and I still do a song, Rock With Me, in tribute to him every night pretty much I play because, I love the guy.
Yeah. Now, you also mentioned Charlie Musselwhite, one of the loveliest musicians I've ever had the pleasure to interview. He must have been a wonderful mentor to have.
Oh man, Charlie was great. Charlie was one of the biggest kind of mentors for me because he kind of let me find my own voice, because up until that point, before I was doing a lot of traditional blues and really staying within the, I'm not going to call them confines because I think it's beautiful, but just in that genre and sticking with it because that music calls for that. But Charlie was like, hey, I've played, sat in with, heard everybody in Chicago. So, do your thing. He didn't say that, but I knew that was the case. I mean, he saw Little Walter and Sonny Boy and all these people. So it's like, okay, don't worry about all that. Just give it to me. Give me your stamp on it, what you can do. And he would just sometimes make me solo even longer. And I mean, it was just great. And then I'm playing with the legend and touring, and it was just fantastic. And the
Yeah.
story, yeah, it's great.
So he's very encouraging of the musicians in his band.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm. So was leaving the Thunderbirds purely a case of you wanting to branch out and focus on being a solo performer?
Yeah, I mean, basically at that time, I just wanted to do my own thing. I wanted to not be in the confines of that particular style because I feel like it's important to not, try and find myself on somebody else's gig. I think it's better, serving the music and serving everybody in the situation. If I want to do something else, or if I'm hearing if Jimi Hendrix influences are coming out, or this or that, or I'm playing wilder music or doing whatever, I think it's time to just say, hey, I want to do something else. And, I appreciate the time with you and move in a different direction, you know.
Yeah. So for you based there on the West Coast in the United States, is there something for you that distinguishes as the West Coast blues sound to other regions of America?
Well, I think that it did more before now, in a different era maybe. I mean, now I feel like a lot of like West Coast blues musicians have to be a lot of different, they wear a lot of different hats. I think that like a guy like Hollywood Fats or Junior Watson or some of my heroes, those guys can play all of it blues. They can do any kind of blues there is. I mean, it's like,
Mm.
on a gig with somebody like say Linwood Slim or like some of the guys that I grew up playing with, who Watson and Fats and all those guys that I play with, they have to play Texas style blues. I mean, old Texas like Freddie King, T Bone, Johnny Guitar Watson style. Then turn around and play like the more slicker T-Bone style, then turn around and play Chicago blues, and then play some rock and roll, all on one gig. And I think before, guys were more like, into one style. Johnny Guitar Watson was Johnny Guitar Watson. T-Bone Walker was T-Bone Walker. But I think the times have changed, within the last 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answered your question.
And I did. It was a beautiful answer. So what about the guitar, Kirk? Is it an instrument for you that you never stop learning from?
Well, um, the guitar has took on a different meaning for me actually in later years in the last few years. Well, maybe even before. I mean, at first I wanted to get better. I just wanted to get good at being a guitar player and everything. Now the guitar is more of a communication tool. So whatever I can do to make it speak more and to connect with people is what I'm into more now. So maybe sometimes that doesn't mean technique, or it might not mean a bunch of pedals, or it might not mean that. It might just mean the way I play vibrato or dynamics or, some pretty chord progression I pick up
Mm.
from Bobby Womack or something.
Hmm.
So it's took on kind of a different role, is what I'm trying to say.
Sure. And talking about the blues, it's a style of music that seems to transcend generations. No matter what other musical styles come and go, the blues is always there. What do you think it is about the blues that sees it jump from generation to generation?
It's something that you can feel on so many different levels. I think it's for me, blues is a way of life, kind of. It's basically like a storybook. It's telling, like about a person's good blues, the blues I like. It's
Yeah.
telling about a story, just like good country music or anything. It's like, and maybe a young person might relate to a Stevie Ray Vaughan or a Joe Bonamassa on the intensity of it and things like that, and maybe the guitar part of it, but it's still blues. Maybe an older person might relate to like the lyrics of it, or trying to help them get through a hard time, or they can relate to that. So it's a lot of different things. To me, that's my own humble opinion.
Yeah. And let's talk about your upcoming visit to Australia. Are you bringing a band with you?
No, I'm using some gentlemen from Australia, actually.
Oh, lovely.
So it'll be sort of like a cool thing, I'll go over and play with some new musicians that I haven't played with and experience. Australia being a solo performer, I've been to Australia quite a few times before playing with other people. The first time was with Linwood Slim. I went to Australia actually with Eros Ramazzotti, a pretty well-known pop artist, Italian pop artist, and I
Yeah.
think a few times too. And it's always been fun. Always look forward to going there, but this time is very special. I mean, this is definitely, I'm really looking forward to this, doing my own thing over there.
Wonderful. Now we look forward to that. And what about after Australia? What's on your books for the rest of the year?
After Australia, I have some gigs in Europe again. I have a couple gigs in Spain, and then I go to South America in August, and then I have a couple more gigs in Europe. Then I go to the UK, and after that, I think I go to Japan. Yeah, I go to Japan. I don't think I better. I go to Japan, and then I think I go to Europe. Pretty busy.
That is very busy. And recording-wise, is there anything new on the horizon there?
Yep, absolutely. I'm working on. I already have two or three basic tracks recorded for my next thing, and then I'm going to LA the end of this month, and I'm going to try and record a little bit more. Then I'll go there again before I go to South America. I'm going to try and record again, and then by September, October, I plan to have it done.
Oh, fantastic.
Definitely look out for that for next year.
Excellent. Plenty to look forward to. And just before I let you go, advice for young players coming through. What would be your best standard piece of advice for a young musician?
I would say whatever you dig or whatever, do the research and go back. And I know that this is kind of a tricky question because, kids these days have YouTube and it's sort of overwhelming. It's so much there that it's hard to just, get on one thing and study it like I did with like Stevie Ray Vaughan or somebody. But definitely try and just whatever you're into, if you're into blues, try and just go back and find out what the music is made of. Be a musical sponge, and just listen to everything, you know. That's the main thing I think, and get out and play. Jam or whatever for any amount of money. Just go out and do it.
With as many people as you can, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Hey, thanks so much for your time, Kirk. We're really looking forward to your visit. Here in Melbourne, you're playing at the Caravan Club, which is a wonderful room. Been there many times. It's got a great atmosphere. You'll certainly love it there.
That's great. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so are we. All the best, and have a safe flight out here, and we'll see you in a few weeks.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I'll see you in a few weeks.
All the best, Kirk.
All the best. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.